Okay, this is Gary Morgan with Rachel Stewart. We're here at the training center at Sequoyah for the NRC annual assessment. And we have the small room set up here, very interesting, in that there's no place for public to sit down. Our NRC has their folks sitting. Maybe we'll move to the other room, I don't know. What do you think about this, Rachel?
I think if this is the setup, then that's absurd. I think they're trying to discourage people from attending.
Well, very good. That's exactly what I think too. But they have a
Okay, let's, if I can have everybody's attention briefly, I think we probably will have people in here at least to kick this off. My name's Alan Blamey. I'm with the NRC and I'm out of the Region 2 office. I have oversight responsibility for the TVA facilities. And tonight what we're going to do, we have a poster board session set up, which is a little different than what we had typically done for the annual assessment meetings that we have. But we wanted to give this a try tonight. What we're trying to do is interact more with the public, and I think the one-on-one communication, we can have some additional questions. We can spend some more time with you and make sure that we answer those questions. So we're trying this format, and I think it'll work out good. But with that said, please sign in, and there's also meeting feedback forms. So we'd like to know what you think about this meeting, and specifically if it meets your needs or not. So that'll be valuable for us to understand. To open the meeting up, I am here. We have Galen Smith, who is a senior resident at Sequoyah. He is the senior here. He spends every working day here overseeing what the licensee does. Wes DeShane, who is the other resident inspector, is currently on temporary assignment at Vogel. And we have Stephen Roberts, who is backfilling, and he'll be up here for another couple weeks, I think. And then Wes should be back. With that said, I do want to open up, noting that in 2015 and the assessment that Galen has done, we believe that the plant was operated to preserve public health and safety and security. Unit 1 is in the regulatory response column, and what had occurred over the past year in 2015, there were some shutdowns of the Unit 1 reactor that were unplanned. But I would like to say that from the analysis that we did, it appears that most of those were balance of plant type equipment, secondary side issues, and through those shutdowns, the operators performed as expected, and all of the emergency equipment responded as expected. So feel free to talk with us. We have information on those if you'd like to learn more about that, as well as the inspection reports that were generated this past year. Unit 2 is in the Unit 2 is in the licensee response column, and all the findings there were green, very low safety significance over the course of the year. And actually, both units had green findings, very low safety significance. It was a performance indicator that resulted in moving Unit 1 into the regulatory response column. So with that, I guess what I'll do is just open it up for questions, allow people to mingle.
do have a question. Yes. The January 2015 letter that the NRC proposed a fine to TVA, the issues behind that, I believe it was related to fire watches. That has been resolved?
Well, this quarter we have done a closeout, and we'll document that in our first quarter report.
Okay, so that issue is now resolved?
Pretty much. It hasn't been formally documented, but it'll come out in our first quarter report, so you can review that.
Okay. Pretty much is not a yes, it has been resolved.
Well, I mean, it's not, we're writing the report. It's not official. I haven't gotten my boss to approve the report.
Right.
So it might.
Pre-decision until.
Yeah, pre-decision.
Pre-decisional, okay, I got you.
But we believe once the report comes out that it will be resolved.
Okay. So the TVA is now doing the proper fire watches?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Basically here, this licensee event report, automatic reactor trips due to a negative trip, drop control rod. The situation with the drop control rod, has that been resolved? That would seem to be a mechanical defect. Is this still a pending?
The drop control rod, that happened 2015, I can't recall, maybe second quarter. So during the next outage, there's no date. But so on that drop rod, the rod was towards the center of the core, and so when it drops, it causes the power to be suppressed, and there's actually a negative rate trip. So if the reactor protection system sees power dropping rapidly, it's a safety protective feature to trip the reactor. So it's so the reactor was tripped, and they did significant testing. Ultimately, during the next outage, they found a loose connection. Basically, it's a connection that gets installed and removed when they pull the head, and they noticed that it was loose, and they basically put a whole new connector in there, and so that essentially was an intermittent failure essentially that caused that rod to drop in the core. If all the rods have power applied to them, there's grippers that hold up the rod, and if you lose power, if you have this the loose connection in containment, that would cause that drop rod. So they did repair that.
Had there been any previous incidents of drop rods in the past couple of years that were identified on CAPs? Wasn't taken care of? Okay.
That's the first one I've seen in a long time.
I don't recall, in following this, I don't
very
recall
much,
anything at Sequoyah.
It was just it was a one-time event that I saw. It was quickly repaired. Again, the fact that the rod fell in the core, that was in itself a fail-safe condition. And then the system said, based on the negative rate, just tripped the whole plant.
Right. I got you. Let's look at this next one down here, which was O2, containment recirculation rates, unanalyzed conditions in office.
Oh, sure.
What do we got here?
So during every week they have to go into upper containment. This is a least condenser plant, so there's an upper and lower containment. They go into upper, and they climb up a ladder, and they actually go into the ice condenser itself. And they have to check various doors there that they're not sticking. And when they do that, it's a manual action. People have to go up there and do it. They're wearing these foul weather jackets. It's like 18 degrees in that ice condenser where they walk around.
Was this the one where a jacket, they were raised, the jacket fell down? Yeah, I remember that.
So at some point when they were leaving, they were removing their jackets, and one gentleman dropped his jacket. It fell down essentially into the where the refueling canal is. Basically, it's empty. And once the jacket went in there, they felt that it degraded safety because there's drains in the bottom of the cavity, reactor cavity. And so during an accident, you want to have as the RCS blows through the ice condenser and water condenses, and the steam will continue up, and eventually containment spray will kick in and upper containment and spray down, and then all that water has to get back to the containment spray pump suction, because otherwise, the pump eventually will lose suction. So you need that makeup water to return. So it travels through the reactor cavity through these two drains, and they postulated the fact that they dropped this jacket down into the cavity, that it could plug up the drain. If they happen to have a loss of coolant accident when they were in there, and that jacket was now affecting safety, so they conservatively reported that as an unanalyzed condition, and they quickly retrieved the jacket and exited containment. So the exposure time in that unanalyzed condition was very short, and they conservatively reported that to the NRC and the licensing event.
Right. Okay, let's go on to the next one. About this, was there it seems like to me, I remember in the corrective action or some sort of deal with information or training that was involved in what not to do or what to do in situations like that. Was there? I mean, what was the corrective action on this, actually, you know, when a person was in a critical area like this? And
off the top of my head, I don't know. There's a lot of coaching done. A lot of it's a realization that, it's more or less, if I'm handling a jacket, maybe, just control it better. Understand that the jacket going into the cavity area would be a problem. Beyond that, I'd have to double check what the exact corrective actions are.
Let's look at this next one, 03 here. Manual reactor trip due to loss of power, inverter power board. Was that a component that went out in the power board, or?
Yeah, it was the output breaker, essentially.
Did it fail altogether? Was there a short in it, or?
It was the output breaker, and it lost basically continuity. So the inverter was running, and yet the output breaker lost continuity, so it wasn't delivering power to the bus.
Was this something that was specific to that particular electrical board itself, or was this due to an outside condition?
Very specific.
Open phase event.
No, very specific. That has nothing to do with open phase.
Okay.
Totally different.
Has Sequoyah had any particular problems with open phase event?
No, not really.
Okay.
In fact, Sequoyah is actually doing a lot now. They're installing a modification to provide indication to the operators if they would encounter that type of open phase condition. So it alerts the operators that, hey, you have an open phase condition.
Would you want to comment on the NRC engineers that came forward and were whistleblowers on open phase?
I don't really know anything about it.
Would you want to comment on
Well, there's really not a lot, from my perspective, to comment. That would be a headquarters activity. Right. I believe it comes out of one of the electrical groups at headquarters, so it comes out of a very credible source. And I believe the NRC is reviewing that right now. And that's, quite frankly, we don't follow it that closely, other than we do know that there is the open phase condition. That's one of the things that we do as Galen goes through periodically and does his switchyard walkdowns. He looks at that, as well as the licensee. They do periodic walkdowns in the switchyard too. The open phase is really something that occurs on the high voltage connections that you typically see in the switchyard.
Does the NRC currently require the licensee to do a periodic inspection, like once a month, once a week, on the switchyard to ensure that open phase is not a problem?
I do not know if that is a requirement. The last that I have looked at this several months ago, I know the NRC was still looking at appropriate actions that could be used as interim measures. But I know that we do through our normal inspection, because we are aware of the issue. We typically look at that when we do our switchyard reviews through the private weather procedure and other plant tours. We will typically look at that. I do believe that the licensees, when they do their daily rounds, they will look at it. These are things that are typically fairly easy to identify, where you have large bus bars that may not be aligned properly. In the case of the Byron issue, if I remember seeing pictures of that, that was a large bus bar that was actually laying on the ground. So they're very easy to spot when you're in the area.
If inspection is done.
Correct.
I think that was the main problem, was that there was insufficient inspection as being called, as I remember to identify an open phase problem.
Right, and that's the sense of the mods that they're looking at right now, is to ensure that they have sufficient measurements to the operators in the control room that they can see fairly quickly if there's a phase, one of the phases would have a problem. Because if I remember correctly, the Byron event, when you take a look at the large transformers, a lot of the house loads may be supplied off of the generator, and if you have an event where you lose the generator and you switch to auxiliary power, meaning that the grid will come back through a transformer and feed vital equipment loads in the plant. If you have a transformer that is not really providing much power at the time you have this, it may be hard to see that on the instruments, but as soon as the transformer is placed in service through automatic transfers, then you may see this condition.
And this particular, this is actually 120 volt instrument power, so more or less powers instrumentation rather than large 4160 bus or 6.9 kV that's powering pumps, motors, or something.
That power
What happened there is that, so they had 4 instrument buses that were all required by tech specs. The output breaker failed on this particular inverter, and so now they lost 1 instrument bus. So a lot of, 25% essentially instrumentation goes away, control for valves. So, it's a challenge for the operators to deal with. Now, they entered an off-normal procedure when this happened. And their procedure directed them, like step 1 is, well, trip the reactor. And so they followed their procedure and manually tripped the reactor and then restored the bus. And it's as simple as that.
So let's look at your manual reactor trip.
Similar, this is a low voltage electrical issue. It had to do with one of the main steam isolation valves. They noticed that it was essentially started to come off as fully open C. Normally at power, there's 4 steam generators, there's 4 main steam isolation valves. So this valve was slowly drifting closed. The operators noted that. They had position indication. It's not a normal occurrence. They troubleshot it. They felt the best thing to do at that point was to trip the reactor, put the reactor in a safe condition to deal with this MSIV. Because if the MSIV goes closed, the main steam isolation valve, if that goes closed to power, it's going to trip the reactor automatically. So they felt it was safer just to manually trip it and then address that. And again, that was simply on the control switch itself. There was a loose wire in there since construction days, and they subsequently repaired that. But it was from an operation standpoint, they did all the right things. Well, it's a rolling calculation every quarter. By 2015, I think there was 5 on Unit 1.
So they have a white designation.
Correct.
Right. In 2015.
Correct. Every quarter we recalculate it, so essentially a trip will roll off. If it was 4 quarters ago and now we move another quarter, that trip goes away for that quarter. But right now they're still in the white PI.
Is there a recurring problem with Unit 1? I mean, is there a particular area that seems to be reoccurring?
Well, that's a great question. The licensee is currently doing their own root cause on all these trips, and they're basically going to present that to us. And because it's a white PI, we're going to do a follow-up inspection, called a 95.1 inspection. We're going to analyze their root cause. We'll look at if they benchmarked other facilities, if they found the extended condition, and then we'll, make our assessment on their efforts there. So, I mean, it's probably, I don't want to get too far into specifics. But personally, I didn't see myself. I never saw a common theme on this. There was, a couple of the trips. 2 of the trips on Unit 1 had to do with the main generator voltage regulator, which is essentially non-safety related equipment. It has to do with, making electricity, but problems there can ultimately, cause a reactor trip, because if it opens a turbine generator output breaker, that ultimately causes a turbine trip and then a reactor trip.
Okay.
But again, we're going to evaluate all these trips in our own inspection, which will be performed this summer, I think July.
This, of course, they're still in the white category, and
Correct.
This last one goes to the first question. There's a continuation of the basically a trip. Of course, this goes back to 2012. And these last 3-4 years, this particular condition is continuing.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think that's true.
It's not? Well, I mean, you're saying that, and this is often, let's see, this is Chattanooga Times Free Press, I think I printed this off of.
You're right, there was a white finding back in like 2012, well, 2015. Those trips, I believe, as my recollection is, those trips were more related to a lot of steam generator level trips. The licensee subsequently installed a digital feed water control system, which greatly reduced reactor trips as a result of steam generator levels. So these trips that we're talking about in 2015 did not relate at all to those issues back in 2012.
Okay, because the 2012 issue was a fire watch. You know, I think was the main issue.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the white PI on
Well,
trips.
I am. It's increased oversight of white findings. The fire watch was indicated here in 2012 problem with fire watches. So now we're still getting white findings in other various areas. So here's what I look at, sir. I'm an old medical administrator, okay? That was my profession. Of course, in analyzing the risk, whether it be people or a large machine, the risk management is very simple. Because you want to, often you find out, even in accident analysis, you know, the risk management of that is very simple. With people and machines and accident analysis, often it's what happens, you have these smaller incidences building up to a catastrophe, you know, so the question I'm fixing to ask you, there's a series of smaller incidences that has occurred that has, actually y'all gave a white finding. And a white finding, for instance, in 2012, it was the walk-through, you know, fire inspection. Now, there's still a series of incidences occurring that the reactors are tripping. In risk analysis, in analyzing the risk, is there a series of events that is occurring that could lead up to a larger, you know, in other words, not paying enough close attention to detail in these events?
Well, I think you're making the whole point. That's how our program works. If you have so many reactor trips, like in 2012, now there's been, you know, several in 2015, that the NRC says, hey, that's a lot of trips. We have a PI that says you can't exceed 3. You need to be below 3 to remain in the green or very low safety signal. So once you kick that above, then we expect the licensee to analyze why did you have all those trips. Is, like you said, is there some underlying, you know, theme here where they're missing the boat that they could be going down the wrong path, and they're currently looking at that, doing their root cause as we speak, and then we're going to come in on the back end and we're going to do our assessment of that to see if there's any, like you said, is this a precursor to a larger event? So we'll have to, you know, it's too early to tell, you know, where we're at on that.
Because INPO done an inspection here.
Oh, absolutely.
Is there anything in the INPO report that differs than from y'all's analysis on it that you're aware of?
No, we review the INPO reports. They're considered proprietary,
Right.
But the expectation is that the residents review the most latest and greatest INPO report to do just as you said, to verify, hey, is there some safety issue that INPO is, you know, looking at and we're not aware of. So we do that activity. I document it in my report, and the answer is no. There's nothing that we've seen that they've noted.
You know, reassurances from y'all as our regulator
I'm
to
giving you the reassurance.
and that's cool. That's all I can ask for.
I review it, and I make an assessment of it, and if I saw anything that deviated from my frame of reference, then absolutely I would act on it.
Can't ask for any better than that. That's right. I did have the green findings, but they're pretty much, I've read through there, everything in the fourth quarter of 2015, everything's pretty much self-explanatory. I appreciate your time.
Sure.
Let's see.
I appreciate you showing up.